Order. I think Member Bryant is on her way, so she'll join when she gets here. So welcome to the County Operations Committee meeting. It's the regular and budget meeting for October 28th. The first item is the approval of the minutes for September 23rd, 2025. So can I get a motion to put that on the table? Dr. Blair and Member Duncan. Any revisions, questions, comments regarding the minutes? All right, seeing none, I will ask for a vote. All right, we have a unanimous decision of the members here. So thank you. This month we have no informational items. We withheld the informational. We'll push some of those to November just so we have time to get through budget. We do have 3 resolutions. So the first resolution is the Axon evidence license for the guardian ad litem attorneys. So I need a motion to put that on the floor. All right. Member Elsasser and Dr. Blair. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mark Little and Gabe to give us an update on this and what the ask is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request that came in from court administration about a month or so ago. And this is a product we already own and use within the county, both within the state's attorney's office and within the public defender's office. And this was a request for some additional licensing, and I'm going to turn it over to Gabe to try to explain the business justification behind this.
Thank you, Mark. So this ask is for 5 Axon evidence licenses for our 5 guardian ad litem contractual attorneys in the court administration. So our guardian ad litems, they're in juvenile court and they represent the best interest of the children in the juvenile abuse and neglect cases, and it's statutorily required. So currently, the state's attorney's office exclusively uses Axon as their evidence and discovery software that they send to all the attorneys. In the county, all public defender attorneys, including contractual, have Axon licenses, and all attorneys in the state's attorney's office have Axon licenses. Currently, right now, our guardian ad litems do not. So the process where it works is the state's attorney's office sends a link to our guardian ad litems. Now, with this link, they have to download massive amounts of information onto their personal device or an external hard drive or a flash drive. And just to give you an example, they can receive like 10 links in a week for their cases for discovery. And this causes them to spend hours and hours, because this can include hundreds of documents with thousands of pages and hours of video. So they requested us with the hours they're spending to bring this down. It's just not efficient, and it's causing them not to be able to see all the discovery prior to the hearing, and then that could push the hearing back, which then pushes our case to disposition and creates a backlog. That's 1. 2, just from talking with Mark, just purely from a data security standpoint, all juvenile cases are confidential and the information is confidential. It's just bad practice to be downloading all this information onto hard drives and flash drives that we don't know where it's going. It could be lost, could be stolen, on personal device could be hacked, and all this information can get out there. So just number 1, the security is a big issue on the information. And then number 2 is just the efficiency. With this license, this allows them real time through the cloud to access all this discovery information. And it also allows for it to be categorized and advanced searches, greatly speeding up the process, which will hopefully then allow us to keep always at our current contractual staffing levels in the juvenile court, so we don't have to, if we get behind, look at more additional resources with attorneys. So we went to Mark and we said, can we tack on some additional licenses so attorneys could have it? And we asked Mark to go negotiate a good deal for us.
Okay, no, thank you for the briefing. I will ask committee members if you have questions for Mark or Gabe. Member Phelan.
Are these going to be shared licenses or?
So, I guess the way I'm thinking you're asking the question as far as shared, they would be dedicated to an attorney. But if that attorney, contractual attorney, would leave or go, yes, we would transfer that. So, it's shareable as that it can be moved to different attorneys, but it will be assigned to the attorneys we have.
Thank you.
Member Daley.
After going through the budget for the last, it seems like year, but it's only been about 6 weeks, I notice how much we are spending on software, but I'm very encouraged that you say that this will save a lot of employee time. So I'm hoping that could be commensurate with a reduction in FTEs. Just a thought.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from committee members? Again, thanks for bringing it forward. We've added the license to the Axon license for most everybody involved, I'll call it courts. Are there other users that we could be expecting to show up in the next 12 months and say, oh, we forgot these people or those people, or does this pretty much cover all of the users?
So for us, it's just attorneys. So I would not bring forward anything else in the courts that I'm aware of for Axon unless there's any future products that would change over time that I'm not aware of. But for this categorized, no, it would just be purely for attorneys. Yep.
Okay, and the Guardian ad litem would be the last round of attorneys that we have in the process that use that information.
Great question. That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just kind of give us a line of sight because as Member Daley has mentioned, software, while it's great and it adds capability, the license and the annual fees is starting to take over our budget. And Mark knows that, and it's a topic he's been working with, but we're just trying to be conscious of, how we apply licenses and those annual fees that just keep racking up on us. But any other questions from any other committee members? If not, I'll ask for a vote. That passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. The next item is the budget appropriation for risk management fund. And so I need a motion to put that on the floor. Member Duncan and Member Phelan. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Angela to give us an update on this one.
Okay, good afternoon. In front of you is an ask to appropriate $725,000 from the risk management reserves in order to cover, if you recall back in April, the board had approved a large civil litigation settlement. So we've not yet paid that out. So in order to cut that check, this budget appropriation is needed, as well as for some still pending litigation, and then just our regular liability expenses that come month to month. Happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment. This is a shared resolution. Finance will also have the same resolution because of the dollar value of it. So with that, I'll ask Member Williams, you have a statement or comments? Anyone have questions or comments? It's more of a procedural to appropriate the funds to cover what we've already approved. So no member else has, sir?
Was this a case of too old to be covered by our reinsurer?
I think we had discussed that in the past, so there's no coverage from a reinsurer. So this one is, by the way it was decided, is on our risk management.
Okay.
But thanks for the question. Any other questions from members? No questions? I'd ask for a vote. And that vote passes unanimously. Thank you for that. The third resolution is the FY26 authorized staffing count for administrative departments. And that's a normal thing we do, so I'll ask for a motion to put it on the floor. Member Allison, and a second, and Member Phelan. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. McCord and let her present to us.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As Member Ricker mentions, this is an annual authorized staffing count that we do for the board. And in 2010, the committee and county board made it policy to formally adopt an authorized staffing count for positions that report up to county administration. This year we have a change of a net increase of 1.8 FTE in the departments that report up to the county administrator. In 2025, you'll recall in the adopted budget, 1 FTE was approved for an assistant county administrator to oversee facilities, economic development, and special projects. And during that hiring process, an additional 1.0 FTE was approved for the director of strategic projects and capital planning position. So while that position began in fiscal 25, it wasn't reflected in the fiscal 25 numbers. But we, as a result of that, there were several staffing adjustments, labor adjustments, and allocations that were made across county administration. And this resulted in a decrease of 0.45 FTE in PCAPs, a decrease of 0.4 in employee health, a decrease of 0.8 in county highway, and an increase of 1.825 in county administration. And then recently an increase of 0.835 in facilities and grounds, which includes the reallocation of 0.76 FTE from the health department to the facilities department. And finally, to round out that number, the supervisor of assessments is requesting 0.79 FTE, which is 0.5 for a Limestone Township part-time assessor, if that contract is approved, and then 0.29 FTE to convert a temporary position to a permanent part-time position. The net budget impact for this would be $178,614 for these positions, and that includes both salary and health insurance. Happy to answer any questions you have on this resolution.
Any questions from the committee members? Member Brunel.
Thank you. The 174, does that include money that we would get from the health department for their portion of the facilities? There's 68% of.
So that is the portion that will be charged just to the general fund. How the HHS agreement is set up is that the health department will cover those expenses out of their department. So the portion of time that those individuals are working at the health department would be paid out of the health department funds. So kind of like similar to what we do with JDC and their facilities staff member.
So within the 174, that would include the coroner's portion of the facilities.
The coroner's portion is, because they're a general fund department, they're not charged
Okay.
separately for.
We
any
acquire
expense.
that.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Good questions. Any other questions from committee members on staffing count? Member Elsasser.
What was the reason for the decrease in the county highway? And I'm not saying that that's good or bad or indifferent. I just wondered.
That's a great question. I'll ask
Sure.
Heather to provide that.
Sure. So when the second position The Director of Strategic Projects and Capital Planning position was approved in the middle of this current fiscal year. Because that headcount reports up through the county administrator and that position had been unfilled for multiple years, that FTE was moved over to county admin, or kind of swapped out for that position.
Can you say that one more time again? I didn't have enough sleep last night, I don't think.
Okay, sure. So when the Director of Strategic Planning and Capital Projects position was approved in the
Right.
middle of this fiscal year, there was not enough FTE headcount in the county administrator's line item, so that because highway reports to the county administrator and that position had been unfilled for multiple years, and had been vacant, that FTE was moved over to
Oh, okay,
county.
okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's not it's a transfer of an FTE under administration. So it was under county highway. Again, as member CFO McCord has commented, that position, because it was a senior engineering position, we had a hard time filling, so it had not been filled for multiple years. So the decision of the administrator was to transfer that position over to fill the position of the new hire. That was a 1 FTE, and then there was a minor adjustment to supervision
Correct.
over highway. That was the other 0.14. That's how I got to be 0.86 in all our point math.
Right.
But essentially, the easy is it didn't add a position. It took an unfilled position and moved it, and now it's filled. So that's the change. Another question, sir?
Well, this is all foreign to me because I went through so many years where we cut back FTEs, and now it's just I'm having a hard time getting my arms wrapped around this.
Okay. Fair comment. Member Phelan.
I guess my only question is in relation to what Member Elsasser was just asking about. When we set the FTE count, we are setting that count to a proposed budget that identifies which positions that FTE count correlates to. Is that correct?
Correct. So, most of this recommended budget is changes in either reporting structure or labor distribution. The only real change between what you adopted a year ago and what's recommended here today is the added position of the Director of Strategic Projects and Capital Planning. Otherwise, it's almost entirely labor distribution and reporting responsibility changes within the organization.
With that said, is it typical that we transfer employees from one department to another without coming back before the board?
Typically not. And the process, I think here where we're the direction on the new position in county administration was find money within the umbrella of the administrator's span of control to fund it, which, as Chairman Ricker articulated, there were funds from a long vacant position in county highway to fund it for FY25. And then for 26, we recommend that it really should be coming out of administration, which is where it's proposed to be. And then, so that would be maybe one position that you consider transferred. We look on an annual basis for my position, deputy county administrator, assistant county administrator, what the labor distribution might be. And like, as an example, this year, Shauna started directly supervising the county engineer and the director of planning and zoning. So some of her labor is now distributed into those two departments, where previously it was not. And then the two facilities team members that that have always been shown in the health department's budget from a reporting relationship now report to Assistant County Administrator Smith directly, but we've got a funding model here that we use, that we've replicated from how we fund facilities staffing at the JDC, which we've done for many, many, many years, and that is, if it's a special revenue fund, the special revenue fund funds a proportional share of the responsibility. At the JDC, they're the one and only department for that building, and so it's 100% of that cost, and that comes to the facilities and grounds maintenance department as a revenue throughout the course of the fiscal year. In the case of HHS, we've got 3 different offices that have substantial space, plus sustainability and resource conservation, which has a de minimis amount of space in the building. And so the health department budget funds a percentage. The Regional Office of Education's non-county funds has a portion of fiscal responsibility for the positions. And then, since, as CFO McCourt said, since the coroner is a general fund department and we budget at the fund level, it's just baked into the facilities and ground operations expenses, as it too is a general fund department.
Thank you.
Good questions. And again, can be complex, but I see by doing the work and putting, for example, the Regional Office of Education, they have some funds outside of the county that would fund that portion of the FTE. So again, it helps share the cost of where they belong into the right accounting buckets. Member Daly.
Just to clarify, so beginning in 2022, county administration had 7.5 employees, but now we have 2 100s less than 12. So I guess that would be, we've added 4.5 employees to county administration in 4 years. Am I reading that correctly?
I would say the labor distribution of the full-time equivalents would be an accurate statement, Ms. Daly, to your comment. The number of physical bodies might be different. So as an example, you'll see in FY22, we had half of an FTE in Headington Oaks. That actually was half of Shauna's time. Yet Shauna has worked in county administration. So in terms of the number of bodies versus the number of how the labor is distributed. Now, throughout that period of time since FY22, the county board has approved and appropriated funds for 2 positions for DEI, and you also approved in the FY25 budget the assistant county administrator position, and then mid-year you did approve the director of strategic projects. So yes, 4 new bodies, but the table that's reflected in the agenda briefing and the resolution is a function of labor distribution versus say physical human bodies.
Another
regarding the FTEs that aren't unfilled positions, I kind of like that idea. As long as the departments are getting along okay, as far as their workload and not putting too much of a burden on somebody else. So I just hope that we don't start using these unfilled positions to advance other positions.
Okay, good comments, good observation. Any other questions or comments from the committee? I know we go through this every year, and it's somewhat challenging from you talk about the number of human bodies in a department versus how they're charged out and allocated to different divisions. So those are the kind of 2 buckets you have to walk a fine line to understand the charge outs. All right. Seeing no more questions or comments, I'll ask for a vote. Okay. Okay, so we have the votes. We have 10 in favor and Member Elsasser who voted nay. So it does pass. So thank you for the votes. The next item is a committee action item for our annual budget. And so I'd like to take all of these items under committee action budget into one action item. So I need a motion to put it on the floor, please. Member Renault and Member Williams is a second. So I will turn it over to CFO McCord, and she will walk us through the information. And as she does that, and you have questions, please bring them up. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. So before you today is the County Operations Committee budget recommendation. We'll start out with just looking at the total of the entire county recommended budget for fiscal 26. The general fund, there are $64.2 million in revenues budgeted, including about a $1.2 million planned use of fund balance reserve to match the $64.2 million in expenditures. And then in all funds, the recommended budgeted revenues as $172.5 million, with about $18 million in a planned use of fund balance reserves to match the $172.5 million in expenditures. For the County Operations Committee specifically, and the departments and funds that roll up to this, the recommended revenues are $26,626,882, with expenditures at $31,498,661. Of the overall county budget, the revenues in this committee make up 17.26% of the overall budget, and expenses 18.26%. This shows you historical revenues and expenditures for the committee. You can see the revenues are pretty similar to what is projected for fiscal 25. The expenses are broken out by different categories such as personnel, interfund department charges, commodities, contractuals, and capital expenditures. To review the sources specifically, they slightly decrease about $157,000 or 0.6%, mainly due to intergovernmental revenue and transfers from the general fund decreasing. The board has given us direction over the past probably year or so to take a look at fund balance reserves. And this shows a reduction of $1 million from the general fund to the IT services fund, as the IT services fund balance reserves have accumulated over the years. And so this year, while the IT fund charges have been assessed appropriately to all departments, those that are funded by the general fund, the total will be reduced by $1 million. The total transfer will be reduced by $1 million this year. So that is part of the decrease in overall sources. For uses, they increase $1.4 million or 4.5%. Part of the increase in expenditures is a planned spend down in the employee health fund to cover runoff claims from 2024's self-insured plan that will continue to come in through mid-2026. I believe it was an 18-month runoff since we switched to the IPPC health plan. And then we'll also include a subsidy in the HSA savings account contributions rather than having those be transferred in from the general fund. And then the risk fund, there's a large transfer anticipated to the capital projects fund for the jail master plan, engineering and design. Personnel expenses are anticipated to increase over fiscal 25 revised. Most of these expenses are IMRF and FICA. And then finally, the staffing. This goes back to the reallocation of labor. So there's a decrease of 0.4 FTE in departments in the county ops committee. And this is due to shifting 0.4 FTE out of the employee health fund to county admin because of the workload associated with the prior health insurance structure versus the current one. I'm happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Questions from committee members? Seeing none, I will ask for a vote to accept this budget proposal through the committee. So please vote. Am I missing someone? Okay, so that is unanimous vote. Thank you. Now we'll move to discussion. Any items for discussion that were not included in the agenda from any of the committee members? Seeing none. Public comment. Anyone here from a public that wants to comment for this committee? We'll close public comment with no one stepping up. Miscellaneous from the committee. Any miscellaneous topics for operations committee today? Member Elsasser.
Well, I'm sure Jenny could speak to this better than me, but Princeville did not win the $1 million. I think we came in 13th, didn't we? Something like that, which is right in the middle of the pack. There was 25, and the school that won it, I believe, had 1 million more votes than anybody else. So it was a large city school, obviously, but they are kind of looking into that too. So we're going to have our state's attorney look into that. So anyway, thanks everybody for your support, whoever voted for us.
Yeah. Good representation for Princeville community and school district.
Yeah, we were the only one in the state of Illinois. There was 25 schools nationwide. So
kudos to them. Any other?
And then Princeville plays Hayworth this weekend, and I'm not sure who Notre Dame and Central plays. Does anybody know? I haven't looked, so just trying to cheer on all the local people.
A lot of high school football programs will be active this coming weekend in the first round of playoffs, so it'll be fun for those who are sports fans. All right, any other miscellaneous? Seeing none, we'll adjourn. Thank you.